And I'm back, as I said, with this week's chapter of My Hero Academia, of its name, um, chapter 119 of its name, Bakugou versus Deku, part 2, I believe. Katsuki viciously lets his emotions explode forward, and there's only one thing left for Izuku to do. It may well be that by fighting with me he simply wanted to let out his emotions that he was unable to do anything else with. And yeah, even if that's the case, it may have been selfish of me, but I couldn't let him win without a fight. Looking back, my thought process was distorted. Okay, I've always, and I'm sorry already for the intermission, but I always thought this funny because in the very first chapter of Boku no Hero Academia, Midoriya starts speaking from somewhere or he starts remembering. This whole story is nothing but a memory. It's him in the future remembering something. And that's something that hasn't been seen in the recent chapters, but now it has resurfaced. And I'm very sad that I forgot about that because it was one of the things that interested me right in the very first chapter was the fact that Midoriya was somewhere in the present remembering this whole story and he's telling us the story. We think that the story is happening, but in the world of Boku no Hero Academia, the story has already happened and Midoriya is telling it to us. So yeah, that's how he says, looking back, my thought process was distorted. Okay. From kindergarten to elementary school to middle school and high school. I have no intention of becoming your punching bag in this fight, Kachan. The two of us have been together as long as I can remember, and yet we've never exposed our true feelings and told things out. Not even once. Okay. Yeah, Deku versus Kachan, part 2. Grappling with harsh words and jeers, the two of us have come this far while only ever relating to one another in that way. Okay. Bakugou is going all out. He's not forgiving. Jesus. Don't let him think. Okay, so Kachan is really just keep on giving. Don't give him time to react. By the time he lands, he can completely close the distance. No good. Deflect his hand. Jesus, he's fast. And he's way more. I never thought Bakugou was capable of analyzing the battle this way. He's just non-stop. Jesus. Yeah, he's not giving Deku any time to think. Ooh, nice flip, bro. Jesus. My usual method is to predict the enemy's movements and decide on the best course of action, but I'll never make it in time if I do that. The reflexive speed to move immediately after seeing one thing's for certain is starting to polish it much more than before. Yeah, I know I'm stating the obvious, but you're really getting stronger. What the hell do you think you're smiling about? I thought you said you weren't going to be my punching bag. Guess you were wrong. I won't be. You're probably just skimming one of your tricks as usual. Stun grenade, that kind of stuff always made me sick to my stomach. I never know what the hell you're thinking. No matter how much I beat the living shenanigans out of you, you keep holding on and coming at me, and you were always looking at me from above with those damn eyes of yours, even though you were just an asshole who never had a damn thing. It's as if this whole time you were looking down on me with disdain and truly aiming to surpass me because you knew you could. It's that goddamn attitude of yours that I can't freaking stand. You so really, Bakugou just thinks that Midoriya always thought he was superior than him, and in a way, Bakugou believed that. So really, what he was thinking is that he was worse than Midoriya. I gotta say, I've always thought of Bakugou as a more powerful guy than Midoriya. Sure, Midoriya has a powerful quirk, but in terms of being able to use it and know oneself's quirk, Bakugou is highly superior than Midoriya. Only recently has Midoriya improved this quirk and somewhat being able to control it, but it's Bakugou ever since the beginning that has shown a better control of his quirk. Sure, he has been improving. No, no arguments there. But ever since the beginning, I always saw Bakugou as a more powerful guy than Midoriya. I hate to say this, but it is the truth. Midoriya only recently grasped the reality of his quirk and how he could adapt it into himself. So really, Bakugou was just pushing himself down when compared to a guy who was quirkless about about a year or so. This is, well, that is pretty normal. If I keep being looked down on and made fun of by someone, I know I would want to have nothing to do with that person. Even so, it's just like I said earlier, I didn't have nothing, and that's exactly why, to the same extent as all of your unpleasant traits, your sheer amazingness and everything you do was so brilliant to me, it was blinding. You who had so many things that I never had, to me, you were an amazing, inspiring person who was even closer to me than All Might. Okay? And because of that, my emotions got worked up, hit several levels faster than before, and my control was slightly disrupted. The upper limit that my body would ordinarily allow for this whole time, 5% power was the limit I was conscious on while in full cowl state. So yeah, even with that powerful quirk, Midori can only use 5% of his power. Bakugou, as far as we know, can use well beyond that. And surprisingly, it had never even occurred to me exactly how much I had been able to train and polish my body up to now. I can't dodge it in time, got a guard. Okay, maximum power level limit 8%. I have finally caught up to you. A shot with all of his might. Wow. Okay, so in keeping with the trend of the past 2 or 3 chapters, we are finally coming to a realization on how complex is the relation between Bakugou and Midoriya. As of now, as of to the past 2 or 3 chapters, I kept finding it weird how Midoriya would follow a guy around that was constantly beating on him, making him feel worse and worse than he already was, and honestly, just going after a guy as, and I'm sorry for this word, as shitty as Bakugo. If I was Midoriya, I would want to get as far away as I could from Bakugo. Okay, the justification that Midoriya gives this chapter is not at all convincing to me. Sure, I see where he's coming from, saying that he admires Bakugo, but seriously, that sounds a little bit like a sort of a Stockholm syndrome. Like, you admire a guy that beats you down and treats you worse than dirt? It is kind of weird. Sure, he admired a guy that he wasn't even that didn't knew him or couldn't give two buckets of dirt for him, All Might, before knowing him, of course. But I mean, him following Bakugo just for that seems a little bit strange. And the fact that Bakugo, a powerful guy, just thought himself worse than Midoriya? I mean, come on, I know this is a shonen, but there's gotta be a limit somewhere to how ridiculous this whole situation looks like. That's why I said in the last video or the other video before that one that this fight is starting to look a little bit like Sasuke versus Naruto. At one point, their bickery just didn't make any sense anymore. Sasuke was pissed because Naruto was getting strong, even though I've always seen, in the first instances of the series, I've always seen Sasuke as strong as Naruto. Through the later chapters, that is no longer true. They are both at the very same power level. Naruto being maybe slightly more powerful than Sasuke, but still they are able to match each other almost perfectly. To the point that they both lost an arm in their final attack. Spoilers if you haven't read the ending of Naruto. They fight again and they lose an arm in the most stupid scene ever. The blood that flows out of their arms and the way they are laid down forms a heart. Just no. Anyway, back to Boku no Hero Academia. And it I'm feeling the same. This senseless bickering between Midori and Bakugou is getting ever so close to that point. Because it doesn't make sense. Sure, as of the latest chapters, I can agree that Midori has reached a power level close to that of Bakugou. But before that, I never saw Bakugou as a weak guy. In fact, for me, Bakugou was one of the strongest students on the 1A class. Stronger than Midoriya. Sure, Midoriya had bursts of power that would allow him to overwhelm anyone, but he couldn't keep a consistent with his quirk, given to the nature of the quirk and his body. But that doesn't make him stronger. Those bursts, sure, in that instance, it makes him stronger than Bakugou. But what about the rest of the fight? What if by any chance the villain was able to guard that blow or somewhat dodge it, and then Midoriya would be rendered powerless? So I always thought Bakugou as a more powerful guy than Midoriya. And I gotta say, I'm not all that happy with this chapter. I mean, it's cool to see them fighting. It's cool to see their emotions laid bare before us. It's cool to finally get back this sense that Midori is remembering this from some point in time, which is really cool. As I said, it was one of the things that really grabbed me into this manga in the first place. Um, because as I believe I told you guys already, I follow Boku no Hero Academia ever since the first chapter. Not really. I mean, when I started reading, there were already 5 chapters released or something like that, but I started reading from the very beginning. But yeah, sure, Midoriya realized he can go up 3% more on his maximum power level, and that apparently was enough to be slightly faster than Bakugou, but still, Bakugou seems to be able to guard the blow. So yeah, I believe we'll get to see probably the ending. I hope that this fight ends in the next chapter. I gotta say, I'm not fond of lengthy battles in all mangas. Um, I'm not fond of lengthy battles or battles that go beyond what they need to go. Like, I'm okay with a battle lasting 2 or 3 chapters, but more than that, it starts to get annoying unless there's like a very good reason for that fight to continue. But I really don't think that this fight should last any longer. And we are yet to see who's the guy that stopped the Razorhead from stopping the fight. So we don't know if it was All Might or if it was anyone else. I believe we still gotta see that. And I'm wondering what kind of cliffhanger Boku no Hero Academy will leave us for the new year. Apparently, the year will end on chapter 120, if indeed next week it's the last week of chapters, which I believe it is. Let me check the calendar really quick. Yes, this week, December the 8th, and I believe that next week will be the last week of chapters, which is very, very sad because after that we'll have to wait a month or so to get new chapters. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this chapter more than I did. I mean, it was cool. As I said, it was a cool chapter, but as I said, this bickering is really getting out of hand. With these revelations in this chapter, it starts to make even less and less sense to me. So, I don't know, maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe if I go and reread the last few chapters, or when this battle ends, maybe if I go reread the chapters or the manga from the beginning, I'll start to get a better grasp of the whole situation. So, who knows? I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. A quick warning as to next week. Um, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this week I did not release the Promised Neverland video. I wasn't thinking about making it in the day. I didn't feel like it. And then in the day after, I didn't feel like it as well. And as it's one of the least popular, if I can say that, it's one of the least viewed videos on one of the least viewed video series on the channel. I really don't think it's a good idea to keep going. If you guys want it, I will keep going with it. I will make it a double video next week, so we'll have the Promised Neverland chapter 18 and 19 next week, along with the next week's Fairy Tail chapter. We won't be having a Seven Deadly Sins chapter because they haven't released. They will release some special chapters, but those are really, really small. And really, they aren't worth a video because it would be like a 5-minute video just to read 2 or 3 pages of content. When the special's over, I might do a video reviewing it if you guys want to. So, those are the warnings. I bid you guys a very nice weekend. There won't be a video tomorrow. Maybe there will. Maybe there will if I think about something to record tomorrow. I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.